Hi, welcome back to our study about children of the Bible. And I wonder what it was like in the Bible days. Well, we know somewhat what it was like. Um, they were humans like us, and they had feelings, and they could talk, and they got hungry, and they slept, and they worked a lot. Okay. Now they had it harder than us. We have technology. We have sinks and bathrooms and shower stalls and sewers and all the stuff that helps us. We have air conditioning and all that. They didn't have it. But I'd love to have gone back. Wouldn't it be cool to have time travel and to be able to go back? I'd love to be like what they call a fly on the wall, just sitting there looking and watching or experiencing what it was like in a tent. They lived in tents. Not everyone. Some had homes. If you remember Cain, he he built things, and homes were started early. But the people of Abraham, and Isaac and Jacob and all that, they were like these kind of people. There's people nowadays in certain places of the world that live sort of like in the Bible times, Bedouins, wanderers, shepherds, who are out there. The Arab nations, very cool stuff. There's still people like that. You've heard of gypsies maybe. And they're not gypsies, but these are Arabs. And this is actually a photo of a modern family under a tent. I hope you can see that. Very cool. These are all boys too, it looks like. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about the family of Avram and what happened. Now, I'm trying to stick to just the stories of children. And the fact is, everybody in the Bible was a child except for Adam and Eve. But I'm not going to I'm going to skip a lot because I really wanted to get to the stories of the children in their time of childhood, what it was like, or what did they do and why are they put in the Bible. Some really cool ones coming up, so stay with this series. Now, I could talk and talk. Can you tell? I can talk a lot, can't I? But I'm going to try and keep this sort of short, but I'm going to give what we call a family tree, like an outline of some sort. Here's Abraham, Abram, or Abraham. I'll spell it like we do in English, Abraham. Or actually, he became Abraham. Abraham, okay, father of many. He's a father of many nations. I'm not going to get into that and all, but what it was like in Ur, where he lived, as a child, pretty cool stuff. But anyway, then he had, I'm just going to do the men's names here. Isaac, of course, he had Sarai, for his wife. But anyway, let's go on. Abraham had Isaac or Yitzhak. Okay, they're kind of pronounced differently, isn't it, than what we're used to. I kind of like to try and get the pronunciations right. And then Isaac had Jacob and Esau. They were twins. There's several twins in the Bible, by the way. Cool. But Jacob is how you say it. But I'll put it in the English spelling, Jacob. And then Jacob, they had different wives. Can you imagine like that? Isn't that amazing? Even nowadays, there are certain countries that you can have more than one wife. And so, but they had different wives. It's not like God liked it. God never said, I don't like it. But he did teach us to have one wife, just to say that. And he kind of allowed people to do what they want because, he allows humans to have free choice and all. And there were real problems in multiple wives and big families. Not big families. Some families nowadays are really big, but only one wife and one husband. That's how it should be. But anyway, Jacob had like different women, sort of wives, definitely a couple wives and a couple others who acted as wives. I'm not going to get into all that. Got to get to the story, that I'm going to get to. I was going to say that really interesting. Abraham, if I do another thing here, he had, I wanted to touch on this because I said I would last time. He had Ishmael, or actually Ishmael, it's probably what it is. And God hears, that's a very cool cool meaning of his name. I'm not going to go into the story. But God blessed both Ishmael and all his family under him. He had a bunch of sons, I think 12 in all, and then it went on, and then that's where we get the wonderful people of the Arabic language, Arabs and all. So that's really cool. But God's chosen person, he loved them all, he loved each, but God chooses different people. And that's kind of the part of this story I want to emphasize, that God has a plan for each one of us. He has a purpose and a plan for you. And I am certainly cool. I hope you are too. I am so cool if someone else becomes more popular or becomes a great leader and all. I am good with that. I'll do whatever God wants me to, and I'll be happy. I'm satisfied. I'm not like envious ever of anyone. Like, I wish I get to do what they do. I wish I was as popular as them. Nope. You do never, never, never want that stuff. You need to be saying, Lord, what do you want me to do? What's my career? What's my calling? What do you want me to do in this earth for you and your kingdom? That's how you should be. He gave you a life. And even if it seems very small to you, if you do that small thing that God wants you to do, it is big to God. And then when you get to heaven, He'll reward you if you fulfill everything you're supposed to do and be obedient. He'll give you greater reward than someone who had a big position of responsibility, like a king or a president or something like that. I don't want any of that. I want to do exactly what God wants. Isn't that what you are like too, child? Never be envious of others and all. Boy, that's a lot of envy stories. A lot of people who want this and want more of that. And all the way through the Bible, remember Cain, he was envious and he was jealous of his brother. Look what his life turned out to be. It was really bad. But anyway, let's go on. So Isaac is the one, Yitzhak, And so Isaac had Jacob, and then he had, oh boy, I could talk a lot on this. Whoops, little up and down here. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see all this here. Abraham had Yitzhak, and Yitzhak had Yaakov. And then we have Reuben, Simeon. I'm going to draw a little bit lower, not that he was under him or anything, just to have room to write all the letters. Do you know how many sons he had? He had Reuben, Simeon, Levi, then he had Judah, then he had Dan, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Dan, Judah. Then he had, oh boy, I know these. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali. I forgot it for a second. Naphtali. Hope I spell these right. Naphtali. I had to kind of start over. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad. We'll go over the pronunciation of these a little bit later. Is this interesting? Look at all these guys, he's got a lot of sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Issachar. And even if I'm spelling it wrong, back in those days, get this, it didn't matter how you spelled names. Isn't that interesting? Because in the writings and the documents and all, they have many different spellings. One time in the book of John, the book of John, the New Testament, within 8 verses, he spelled the same word three different ways. Isn't that interesting? One chapter in 8 verses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He had one word that he kept spelling. He spelled it 3 different ways. And I've kind of realized that years ago as I was reading materials of old times, and they spell their names anyway, whatever it sounds like, and they didn't have spelling tests in those days. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Who cares how I spell that? Nowadays, it's important to get that education, to spell correctly, so you're educated. All right, where are we? Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Issachar, Zebulun. Boy, I hope I get them all. Zebulun. Okay, so we have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun. So how many is that? You want to count with me? We have, let me get my pointer here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Uh-oh, am I forgetting? I know who they are, but I think I may have, let me see. I think I forgot one. Yes, I did. I have to do this real quick. I'll write those again. Asher. Okay, so we have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar. Here we go. Now we'll put Issachar. Boy, I'm running out of room. Zebulun. Okay, so that's 10. Zebulun. Whoa. And then we have 2 more. Do you happen to know those? It's okay if you don't, but it's kind of cool to learn these. And then we have a very important figure. Well, they're all important, but this one, a lot of chapters are on this guy. 13 chapters, by the way, are about this guy. These they barely mention. They mention their names, and there's a story here and there. And chapter 37 is where it starts in the book of Genesis. There's 50 chapters in the book of Genesis. We have 37. And then Joseph, and then Benjamin. Now, as a quick fun thing, I'll see if I can pronounce their names. Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Dan, kind of close to Dan. Only you don't say you say Dan, Naphtali, Gad, almost sounds like God, but it isn't. Gad, and Asher, it's pretty cool. Yitzhar, that's interesting, isn't it? And then Zebulun, and then Yosef, and then Benjamin. Pretty interesting. So here are the sons. Now, the Bible doesn't talk about their children, the lives of these guys. They do a little bit, like I said. But what were they like as children? Some of them were pretty bad, I think. Hopefully they all ended up good. See, you can start out good as a child and end up bad. Problem is, most people do. Sorry. Ugh. At least they're sinning against God, and they seem to be nice people, but they're not serving God and all. But you can also start out bad behavior, like some real stubborn kids, and you end up really good. Which is your choice? What's your decision going to be? I hope you make the right choice, the wise choice, and that you please God above. It's really for His benefit that you do this. But you'll get benefits along the way. But believe me, God blesses them who serve Him. But anyway, so all these are really interesting, but this one right here, Yosef, is the one I kind of really want to talk about. And I'll just briefly talk about what I think his childhood was like. Now, I think this is really important. So in ending, I want you to hear this. Yosef was loved by his dad. His dad, I believe, loved his kids, all of them, but he loved him more. He did. In his old age, he was born like when he was older. He came from his favorite wife, okay, which is Rachel. I'm not sure how I pronounce that one. Rachel, Rachel or something probably. Rachel, and Rachel died, by the way, when she gave birth to Benjamin, Benjamin, and so she died when she gave birth. It's kind of sad. And so, very sad, as a matter of fact. But he loved Joseph, and he loved him more than the others. Now, I want to say something right here. Some kids kind of feel like, the parents love the other sibling, your brother or sister better. Whether that's true or not, believe me, it actually doesn't really matter. You know why? Because if you know God and you know His love for you, He's going to love you big time. And He loves that person. He loves this person. God's love is a powerful love that loves everyone. Now, you could even get closer to God than others. We're not in competition, but the fact is He may even love the way you are more than others, because that's biblical. But for me, it doesn't matter if my brothers, sisters, if I have brothers or sisters, if they're like parents' pets, sort of, and they like them more. Doesn't bother me. It's tough, but you can do it. Because you need to look upward and say, God, you made me, and I'm cool. I have so much love coming from Him. I don't even miss it when I don't get it from others. Like, I don't go around, would you please accept me? Would you please accept me in this world? I just know I'm loved by God because of who He is. Not so much me even. And see, He loves me that much? I'm not kidding. So it's so moving and sweet to know the love of God for you. I feel it right now. I could cry right now from joy of knowing that this God really, really, really loves me, and that He's so tender towards me. It also helps my heart to be tender, by the way, if you know you're loved. So People, by the way, that you know are mean or hard or bullies and, oh, why are they like that? They don't know the love of God. And maybe you're kind of a tough kid or something, or maybe you're selfish and you're like a bratty or something. You're all me, my, you know, that. Man, you need to know the love of God, child. Now, he doesn't like how you are, but you've come to him and say, God, I'm so sorry. Oh. And then he pours his love into you. Sweet. Yosef, and I want to just finish with this. I know I could talk a lot about these guys. This guy right here, his life was really, really, really an amazing life. It's my favorite story in the Old Testament. How about that? I'm not going to go into the story because it's his adulthood. Mainly it talks about him as an adult. But I do want to talk about his childhood. And just to say that, again, Yaakov, oh my marker is going down real quick all of a sudden. Could bring out another one if I can. Yaakov, he, like I said, his favorite was Joseph. Okay, Yosef. And he treated him fairly. Not fairly. Didn't treat the others as good. And he just favored him. And he actually made a beautiful coat. Now, most people think the coat is colors because it seems like that's what it is. But if you go into the actual language, this is what people think of that coat as being like. The coat of many colors. This is a picture from about his coat that it could look like that. But really, it isn't many colors. You know what it really was? It was long-sleeved. It actually, in the Bible, it talks about him having, the actual meaning of the word there in the Hebrew is that it went down to his wrists and maybe to his ankles. Most people had a tunic, which is kind of sleeveless. Like, here, I'll try and do it. You know, kind of a robe type thing with no sleeves, sleeveless. And his was long sleeves, and most tunics go to the knees. Well, this went to his ankles and his wrists. And you know what that really was showing to the brothers? This is terrible. He was superior. He was kind of in charge of them. And he's about the youngest. Benjamin was younger than him, but he was the youngest. And Reuben, who was the first born, he should have been kind of the chief of the group and all that. Probably was somewhat, but then Joseph, when he was born, Jacob gave him the leadership role. Pretty interesting. And the brothers, how do you think they felt? They didn't like him. I don't know about Benjamin as much, but I think he probably didn't like him either. It's like, because he probably felt all the hatred from them. They hated him. They did not like him. And when he got that coat, that made it worse. And he kind of stayed in the tent area, like that tent that I was talking about earlier. He kind of stayed around, homebody. He was a homeboy. He was, always at home, and he didn't really go out. And well, he did go out and look out for and watch over and see how the other boys are doing, like a tattletale. And his dad would send him out. Let's see how my sons are doing. And he'd come, and they're working the fields. Or mainly it was like shepherds. They were shepherds. Not good. They got really jealous. And he was 17 when this happened, by the way. So he's really an adult. And I'll end again a little bit with this. I have a little bit more to say about Yosef. But at this, usually you actually become an adult, sort of, at 13 as a boy, 12 as a girl, 12 and a half plus 1 day. They could marry at 12 and a half plus 1 day. It's kind of really crazy. But they really became adults in that time. And they were, in my opinion, more mature than kids nowadays, but I'm not going to get in why. It's not necessarily your fault or anything. It's our society and culture. But he was already kind of a young man, but since we don't have a whole lot of children's stories, the stories are for children. All the stories in the Bible are for children, but it's not about a child, and that's why I really want to focus children of the Bible. But he was 17, which is a minor. He was a kid still in our time. So at 17, I thought I'd bring this story about where he got this coat, and then he had dreams, by the way. Personally, I believe they were from God. This is really powerful. God dropped 2 dreams in him while he was sleeping, and he got up and told the teams to his dreams to his brothers. It was a mistake, in my opinion. So you can make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Joseph made mistakes. He should have kept that to himself. His brothers don't even like him. And then he comes and says, by the way, I saw sheaves where you put a bunch of stalks of wheat or corn or something put together. And he said, I saw each one of you as sheaves and you all bowed down to my sheaf. In other words, they're going to go down and bow to him like he's the leader. The Bible says they didn't like him even more. And then he had another dream and he said, and his father even heard about this, I saw a sun and a moon and then I saw 12 stars. And he said, the others, all the stars and the sun and the moon bowed down to me as a star, as stars in the sky. They're all bowing down, like, giving him, not worship, but, like he's the leader. Now, I just want to say here that to me, God can give you at a young age, even you, child, no matter how old you are. You could be 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, in this thing. You could be an adult and God can give you a vision and a dream. He can give you He has a purpose for your life. You can find it out young, by the way. And that is what happened. He was 17, 30 years old, between 30, 35. It happened to him where he became a king. I mean, not a king, but a right-hand man of a king. He became the second most powerful person in the world. And they all ended up bowing down to him, literally bowing down, because of his position. God gave that to him, and he needed that for his later life because, and I'm not going to go into stories, Joseph had, his life was really here, and then he went down into the pit, basically. You go down through really tough times. And then he stayed down there for a lot of years. He had ups and downs all through his life for from 17 to 30. How much is that? 13 years of tough, terrible things. He actually became a slave. And then he went to jail and, then he had to stay in jail where he could have gotten out and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly he went up like this and he became a ruler. I don't know if you can see my terrible crown there. I couldn't draw it because of the angle there. But he became a ruler, and all his brothers and everything, and his dad recognized him as a great leader in the world. Pretty great story. I would read it. Have somebody read it to you if you can't. It's Joseph. It's Genesis 37, and then it goes to 50. And so this is when the story is about him 17 years old, and he became 30, and a little bit, maybe a few years after 30, but 30, I think, is what the Bible does say. It was about 30. So anyway, so there it is. And it's really a powerful story. And here's what I like to say. He was a wonderful person. I think he might not have, but he may have had pride, which is kind of sad. He may have thought, look at me. I don't know. He shouldn't have said those stories because it caused real problems. And then, and they really hated him for that. If you're being hated by others, and maybe you're a really good kid, just remember Joseph. He stayed good, basically. All his life, he was fantastic. And then later, God used him. This is what it says in the book of Genesis. At the end of this story, it says that God used him in a mighty way to not only save his family, he saved the whole Israel nation because of what God did and how he led him. But God gave him these dreams way back here in this time, and then he held on to those dreams. He remembered those dreams. God would bring it back to his memory, and the dream actually came true. So there's a lot of lessons in that, but be careful not to brag, be careful not to get proud, and just realize that God has a wonderful purpose for you too. He does. I'm not kidding. And so I just want to encourage you to know the Bible and remember Joseph and get that story in you. I'm not going to tell it to you. It's a fantastic story. Remember, I said it's my favorite in the Old Testament. All right, God bless you. I love you. And keep digging into these videos and go read Genesis chapter 37. All right, God bless you.